everybody, and welcome to Healthwatch Darlington's Wellbeing Wednesday session. So we're right on time. We're actually by my laptop a minute before. So that makes a change from our last session, which we didn't actually get on live to join you. So apologies again about that. But if you didn't see the video, it is actually recorded and on our Facebook page, and it was with Live Well North East, and we actually have got a YouTube channel now, so some of our videos you can actually watch on YouTube as well. So for anybody who isn't on social media that you know of that might want to watch these information videos, you can actually direct them to YouTube, and that is a little bit more accessible for people. So just a reminder, Wellbeing Wednesday is Healthwatch Darlington's information sharing session, and it's a chance for us to be able to invite guest speakers so they can come and speak about their organisation or service that is available for you. So Healthwatch Darlington is your local independent champion for those who use health and care services in the town. So our role is to ensure that you can come and talk to us about your health and care experiences, and we share your experiences, which are kept anonymous, with the people who have the power to make change to your health and social care services. So right now it's really important to remind you, if you have got a health and social care experience, or there's something you want to tell us or talk to us about, please do get in touch. Another important role that we play is information and signposting. So we try and keep people up to date with information as much as we can via social media pages, website, newsletter, and with these sessions. These sessions are a way of us being able to still engage with you, as we can't still yet at this stage go out face to face in the community. So I'm really pleased to say that we've got a fantastic organisation today who's going to be talking to you about debt and the support that might be available to help you. So I'm going to do some introductions very quickly. We'll introduce you first, who I think everybody will recognise by now, Sue Kirk, one of Healthwatch Darlington's volunteers.
Hi.
Hi Sue, thank you for joining me. And then we've also got Rachel Ryan, who's from Christian Against Poverty. Would you like to say hello, Rachel?
Hi.
Hiya, Rachel. Thank you very much for joining us. And for anybody who hasn't seen me before, my name's Gemma Rustin, and I'm the Senior Volunteer and Outreach Coordinator at Healthwatch Darlington. So I think first off, Rachel, what we'll do is we'll get going, we'll share your presentation, and I'd like you to give everybody a brief overview about the charity and the support that's available in the town, if that's okay. So I'll do that share screen now. And just a reminder really for anybody who's watching, if you've got a question in today's session, please ask us, because I will try and keep an eye out for your questions. Or if you've got some feedback for Rachel, just get involved with the session. We want you to interact with us, even give us a like, say hello, just to show that you're sort of supporting and you're watching us as well. So if you just bear with me 1 minute. That's over to you then, Rachel. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for the invitation, Gemma. As Gemma said, my name's Rachel Ryan. I'm the Debt Centre Manager for Darlington's Christians Against Poverty Debt Centre. Christians Against Poverty is a charity that's been going about 25 years, started in Bradford by a gentleman called John Kirby, with the aim of bringing people out of debt, restoring their hope and their self-worth, which is obviously something that really chimes in with the things that we're doing at the moment around mental health and keeping people on an even keel, particularly in this lockdown situation. And you can see there from our first slide, we've got always hope, and that is one of our real sort of missions, I suppose, would be a word to restore people's hope, and that there is light at the end of a tunnel, even with their debt situation. Our centre here has been going just since the beginning of September in Darlington. Christians Against Poverty is more a franchise model, really, I guess. We have support from CAP head office, still based in Bradford, but we operate under St Andrew's Church in Darlington here, but also including support from other churches around the town for our finances and for staffing. CAP head office are incredibly valuable. I will put my hand up and say I am no financial expert. All the debt advice that we have comes from properly accredited people in head office. I'm merely the conduit, I guess, for delivering financial advice and budget plans. I'm not the originator of them. Gemma, would you mind just going to the next slide, please?
There you go.
So as you can see there, we're a debt help charity who provides counselling through one-to-one sessions with people. It says on that slide there, home-based visits, but obviously in our COVID situation, we've had to adapt that slightly. We're currently running a telephone service with people, which isn't ideal, but you know, it's necessary at the moment, and obviously as restrictions ease, we'll be able to get back to our sort of original model of meeting people in their own home. We found through experience over 25 years that people are more comfortable sometimes in their home situations, have paperwork and financial information to hand. It's just a model that has served well over the years. So yeah, that rather alarming statistic at the bottom is from some materials actually from 2019. I'm sure perhaps things will have slightly tweaked a little bit in 2020, but every hour and 34 minutes a property is repossessed, and debt just devastates families, relationships, individuals, and obviously the impact of on their mental health is really quite severe. Do you go on to the next one for me, please, Gemma? So we're a debt counselling service, but we also, alongside that, do try and look at that holistic kind of care for the person, as well as just giving them a budget to stick to. We don't just leave it at that. We try and get alongside people and support them as they go through their journey out of debt to becoming debt free. And because of the level of service we offer, we often are particularly suitable for vulnerable people who just need that bit of extra support alongside their actual debt management sort of issues. We have a team of volunteer befrienders who get alongside people. I'll chat a little bit more about that in a minute. As you can see, our numbers are quite startling, really. We've got 13,000 people every year approximately that we help. Debt solutions can vary from bankruptcy through debt management plans, through IVAs, all kinds of technical things that I've been learning about as I've been going along and helping people see their way through to managing the best way in their situation with their level of debt. Gemma, can you pop onto the next slide for me, please? Some of the questions that we often get asked, I've tried to address in the next couple of slides. Our service is completely free. There's no cost to the client at all. As I mentioned earlier, we're partly funded by St Andrew's Church in Darlington, through members of our congregation, and also grants from a variety of awarding bodies have managed to get the funds together, because obviously we pay CAP head office every month for their expertise and their marketing and that kind of thing. Everything is done under the Financial Conduct Authority, so obviously there's costs involved in that. And also we've had very generous donations from individuals who have a real passion and heart for lifting people out of poverty. Again, we're called Christians Against Poverty. Often the word Christian, people have a particular opinion in their head about what that might mean or how we might act, I guess. But Christian is who we, the staff, are. It doesn't have to be our clients. The majority of our clients don't have any Christian beliefs. I think it's, yeah, we are at pains to stress it's who we are, not who they need to be. So regardless of age, gender, disability, sexual orientation, anything, we will do what we can and serve our clients in a fair way, regardless of that. Have the next slide, please, Gemma.
Okay.
Touched on that a little bit there. How does your Christian ethos affect your service? I would say that my faith has made me want to help people. That's sort of my motivation for wanting to help in my community. And I will offer to pray for clients. Some say, yeah, okay, fine, got nothing to lose. Others go, no, thank you, that makes me really uncomfortable. And that's something that we're mindful of and respectful of. I would hate for anybody to be put off by the fact that we have Christians in our name. But again, if people wanted to find out more, I would be able to talk to you about that. We're regulated by quite a lot of regulatory bodies to make sure that we're doing a good financial job. Financial Conduct Authority obviously is a nationwide thing that audits what we do and how we do it, and the quality standards we're again measured against how we act as an organisation. We're keen to be a professional service as well as a charity. So, Gemma, next slide, please. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of how ideally our service would work. It's a self-referral service. Over the last few months since we've opened, I've spent quite a lot of my time liaising with people who might refer clients to us. Clients become aware of what we do through perhaps social services or social prescribers. They've been two of our big supporters so far, and food banks again have been proactive in directing people towards CAP's services within Darlington. The client themselves would phone our head office. It's a free phone number. Again, I'll share that information a little bit later. The head office will then make details and just double check situations and whether appointments are available and that kind of thing. Head office make an appointment, and in this case it would be with me in Darlington. I cover all postcodes from DL1 to DL5, and once they've made that initial appointment, I would then get in touch with the client. In an ideal world, I would be going to home visit them, but at the moment obviously it's phone visiting. We'd briefly chat through the situation that they found themselves in, and then really kind of I start asking them to gather paperwork together. You see on stage 3 there, client collects paperwork. That could be benefits bills, it could be pay slips, it could be outstanding debts, anything really that pertains to their financial situation. And we usually do that over a period of weeks, and there's quite a lot of toing and froing, and at the moment we've sort of moved to quite a good system where people can take screenshots and send them to me and I can upload them. It's kind of COVID has sort of initiated quite a lot of good practice, I think. After a period of time, when we gather that paperwork together, we do a second, I'm going to say appointment, not home visit at the moment, whereby I go through with the client their sort of budget information, really about how much their income they have coming in, whether that income is through benefits or whether it's through a salary or a regular paycheck. Again, perhaps at this point I need to stress that CAP helps people who have an income rather than no money coming in at all, because our ethos is that we encourage people to repay their debts. We do not pay their debts off for them. It's a process that we work together. So their income will be assessed, and then CAP kind of crunches the figures and works out how to prioritise particular debts, how much people need to be spending on their debts, and working that in with sort of everyday finances of everyday life, really. Once the budget's been created by those clever people at head office, we start to deal with their creditors, and that's an area that we find that a lot of people, particularly those who are struggling with their mental health, feel that a burden has been lifted off on them. We are that middleman. Once we take on your case and start dealing with the creditors, perhaps people who've been phoning, sending letters, even people to the door, should back off. That system is in place, that we are authorised by our clients to deal directly with creditors. And I think that something I underestimated when I first started, about what a sense of relief people felt not to have to deal with that themselves. The third home visit or appointment, as we're saying, would be when I chat to the clients about their budgets, about how they will manage their debt, whether they need to file for bankruptcy, which of course we would help them through that process, whether they have a repayment plan. And then stage 9 there, clients start paying into a CAP plan. What we encourage the clients to do is make a regular payment to CAP, and from that, CAP distribute the money to the creditors. Again, that picking up on that, we deal with it for them. So we have a system whereby we even give them the payments rather than the client having to deal with that. But of course, they do have to keep up the payments into their CAP plan, otherwise we can't then pay out. So it is very much a working together kind of situation. And point 10, transfer to a long-term support team. Some of our clients' plans will see them becoming debt-free over a period of years, a gradual process. But CAP is there at the end of the phone to support them. And if situations change, because they do, people's finances either improve or sadly sometimes they have less money than they think, and there is flexibility within what we do to be able to accommodate that as long as we know. It's very much that keeping in contact with us, letting us know what's happening, anything changed, what can we do to help. And then 11, the exciting bit, where even after a period up to sort of 5 years, people become debt free and the weight is lifted from them. So that's really a very whistle-stop tour of how our process works.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much, Rachel. I think that flow chart's excellent. It's really visual, so for anybody who's watching, hopefully that explains it clearly, just the steps that somebody would go through as they were to get in touch with you. So yeah, that was really informative, a very good overview there. So I'm going to hand you over now to Sue, because Sue's actually going to take you through a series of questions which we think would help to sort of understand more about the support that you may be able to offer, and just to sort of generate some more conversations. So for this bit, if anybody's listening in or watching and you want to ask your own question, or you hear a question, you want to know more, just write that in the comment box, because I am monitoring, and we will get things answered for you. So over to you, Sue, then.
Thanks, Gemma. I agree with you. Yes, that flow chart is really informative. It is a great visual. So well done on that one. Right, the first question, can debt become problematic if not dealt with appropriately?
Yes, of course. I mean, most of us, I think, probably could be considered to be in debt, with mortgages, loans, HP, that kind of thing. But if we manage that, it's not a problem. It's when things go wrong, when unexpected things happen, and clients find that things spiral out of control. They might take out loans to consolidate their debts. They might take out loans to repay debts. And I really do think that that's when the problems start. As long as debt's kept on top of and managed, it's not a problem. It's when it gets out of control, I guess. So debt in itself, I guess, is a necessary part of how we live to get things that we can't afford initially. But it's the management of that debt that's the important thing, I would say.
Okay, the next question. What are some of the reasons for someone might not address the debt problems?
Gemma, could you just show the next slide on that? I'll just divert slightly from that. Sue.
This one?
No, could I just go to the one before that? The delaying help one.
That one.
Yeah, just briefly, Sue's absolutely right. People do delay. We've in our sort of, we monitor our clients' sort of responses to things, and we found that, you know, you can see there 58% waited over a year, 30% waited over 3 years before they started to deal with their debts. And if we could have the next slide now, Gemma, then I'll answer Sue's question a bit more. Yeah. I was quite surprised at how high that 58% was, that a year people sit on it and worry.
Such a long time to be worrying as well. Yeah. Really detrimental to health.
Yeah. And part of what I'm trying to do is kind of to get people to come sooner. You know, the main reason, as you'll see on this next slide, is shame or embarrassment. 50% of people who are in debt, that's how they feel, and that's what prevents them. And we're trying very much to try and take some of that shame and embarrassment out. As I say, you know, everybody is in debt, really, to a certain degree. It's not an unusual situation. It's just finding, you know, situations change, things happen that are out of your control. For example, COVID, you saw that coming. It's taking away that, you know, that external sort of shame and say, no, it's fine, we can deal with this. People are worried about what the next stages will be. They feel guilty, I think. Particularly, I would say we have a very varied client base. People often think, oh, the people in debt are the ones who've got no money and they've overspent. Well, actually, no. Anybody who has overspent whatever income they have can get themselves into debt problems. You only, you know, if you've got less coming in than you're actually spending. That's debt, regardless of whether you're on £50,000 a year, or you're struggling on £50 a week. So some of the people perhaps who would in the world appear like they have a lot of money can still be in debt because they're spending more than they earn. So that guilt around that obviously is quite a significant thing. And those last two kind of columns there, thinking no one could help and not knowing where to get help, are really critical to sort of our sort of promotion of our service. We are here. We can talk through what's going on. There are us and other organisations. We do work with other organisations that help people deal with debt.
Okay, thank you on that one. You've mentioned obviously COVID. So during the pandemic, more people experience financial hardship, and can this have an impact on their mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be very naive of anybody to say that the financial impact of COVID is negligible. I think we're all fully aware of how people have been furloughed and jobs losses and that kind of thing. You can't argue with the statistics, and more people who've been claiming universal credit and that kind of thing. And yeah, mental health is going to be very much wrapped up in that, as people lose their sense of identity, their sense of self-worth, they start to panic because things that they were managing quite happily, mortgage payments, loan repayments, when they've got a job, everything's hunky-dory, they're managing those payments nicely. That gets swept away and, things quickly spiral out of control. So yes, the pandemic definitely has increased people's anxieties and worries, I think. Can I just ask, could you pop on the next slide for me, please, Gemma?
There you go.
And again, the effects of debt, people's mental health, the sacrificing of the meals is particularly refined with parents. People are worried about feeding their children because they haven't got the money. So nearly half of our clients sacrifice meals. The health implications for GPs and things, particularly during this slide was prepared pre-pandemic, but obviously the difficulties of people getting to their GPs and appointments at the moment is going to be very marked, particularly that last one, the 48% visited the GP with prescribed medication, or a third for counselling, specifically for mental health issues. That's really going to have only increased, I would suggest, during the year. And people not getting this help as quickly as perhaps they could have done post-pandemic as well. Can we have the next slide, please? This is quite hard hitting. Again, from talking to our clients, 34% of them, so nearly a third of them, have got to such a point with their mental health because of their debt problems that they've considered suicide. Absolutely blew me away when I saw that statistic. I thought, gosh, 1 in 3 of the people that I see will have at least gone through that mental process, and that was really quite hard hitting. I think, again, relating to people don't see a way out or don't know who to ask for help. And yeah, again, 40% of our clients, I'll refer you back, have mental health issues.
So there's a huge impact on mental health, very big, and that figure there, it is very sad, and it's, as you say, this sort of service like yours, Rachel, is about breaking that stigma down and raising awareness and making sure people know that there is support there is help, they're not on their own. So we're so glad we've got you on today. But Sue, would you like to go to the next question?
Just before that, obviously I want to hit on the GP side, and obviously the mental health. And because of managing debt, I know people that have stopped taking their mental health medication because they can't afford it. So that has a knock-on effect as well. So that's got to be taken into consideration as well. So
looking at prioritising that kind of to make sure they get that.
Exactly, yes. So the next one, can you help young people deal with debt problems? And do you think more, I just do the whole one, do you think more young people need support due to the pandemic?
I'll take the first part first. Obviously, as I touched on a little bit earlier, we work with people who have a way of repaying their debt, whether through benefits or through employment. So young people, if they've got either of those incomes, for want of a better word, yes, we will be able to work with them. That we do find that actually it's only about, I think about, I'll just check my statistics, 7% of our clients are between 18 and 25, if we're considering those as young people. And yes, of course, we would work with them if they've got a need for our help. What I would say is that perhaps the younger end of this spectrum, when I'm chatting to some of my younger clients, I've not got any quite that as young as 18, but they say they identify their debt problems as stemming often from budgeting and money management and the lack of knowledge around that area. And in addition to debt services, CAP also run courses called CAP Money and CAP Life Skills, which deal with both of those issues really: budgeting, money management, sensible ways to manage your money. And I think hopefully I could pick up young people and point them in those directions to get up the skills to enable them not to get into debt, if that makes sense. I think it's perhaps something that's been sort of squeezed out of school time. It's not something that gets talked about a great deal. Having talked to my own teenagers, they've never really had any sort of sessions on that kind of issue within school, and that's not a criticism of the school system. I'm very supportive of the school system. They've got a lot going on, particularly at the moment, but I think just it's an area that if you've not grown up in a family where money management has been successful or is talked about, young people perhaps want to pick up on those skills to avoid getting into debt in the first place. And I think that's perhaps where we could direct them most successfully.
I think doing some basic business skills in secondary schools, so I don't know if that touches on doing like budget for in the home or anything like that, but I know I did in secondary school. I had like Barclays Bank come in and you set up an account and then you manage that account, and then I had scenarios of where you spent the money and all the rest of it. So that it should be brought back into schools, I think, as well. It would help a lot.
So much that we kind of could be, but I think that's probably where our focus for young people would be teaching them skills that would avoid them getting into debt.
Can debt have an impact on people you care about?
Absolutely.
So I presume other family members outside of the family's friends.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people in debt would say they find it very isolating. They don't want to let family members and friends know. You know, when you're on a very tight budget or you're worried about money, you don't want to socialise, you don't want to participate in things like birthdays, Christmas. And I think debt will make people withdraw from those kind of sort of close relationships when they need people's support, but their financial situation will sort of maybe inhibit them because they feel they can't play their part or reciprocate, or you haven't got money to go out and, well, when we could socialize, that kind of thing, really. Just have a quick look down. And obviously personal relationships, marital relationships, whatever, feel a lot of strain if partners have different approaches to money. We do work with couples on their money issues and their debt issues, but we do have to have the agreement of both parties in that partnership, because obviously if one person's saving very hard and budgeting very tightly and the other person's going off and spending loads, it's not going to work. There has to be that kind of unified front, really, and I think people coming into debt issues have said, relationship breakdown has contributed to my debt. I've taken out loans for them, or and I think it's that mismatch between people's expectations will put strain on relationships, as well as actually the physical hardship of being in debt, which will put strain on anybody when you're worried about where your next meal's coming from or how you're going to pay the next bill.
Absolutely.
And again, children are impacted. They pick up on quite a lot of stuff, don't they? That they'll notice that they've not got very much to eat. They will notice that they haven't got the latest whatever everybody else has got. Gemma, would you just pop up that next slide for me, please? Again, just a very quick kind of look through. This is a survey of our clients again. 11% of them, no beds or mattresses, no fridge freezers, no washing machines, no cookers. You know, those are all things that children are going to notice, aren't they? You know, when their clothes aren't washed, they've not got a hot meal. And again, that children's mental health is impacted by that too, to some degree, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Have a quick look at my notes, see if there's anything I've missed, but
no.
yeah, just again, statistically, parents, about a third of our parents will say that they really feel their child's emotional welfare is affected by the debt, however much they try and protect them from that and put the children first. So,
are there other barriers that might lead someone to fall into debt, such as language barriers or disabilities?
yeah, very much so, I would say. People's lack of access to information. I mean, we sort of touched upon that, about people not knowing where to go. I think perhaps that's magnified, isn't it, if the available information is there, it is not even in their language, or is not accessible to them if they want something in braille, or, you know, or large print. You know, things like that will become just another barrier to them getting help. And I think also culturally, people's opinion of debt may vary, and that may hinder them from asking for help. Cultures where money just isn't talked about, or perhaps in sort of a more patriarchal kind of society where the man has dealt with the money, and the women perhaps have very little knowledge of what's happening, and then when they realise they've been left with a debt, they don't know who to ask. There's a whole sort of shame around asking, and a feeling of ignorance that, you know, is unjustified when they've not been involved in a process.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that we've expanded on that, because there's people that watch these videos that work with different service users, and some of them may work with people with disabilities, or they may work with the BAME communities, that's Black, Asian, minority ethnic. So if they're watching this, it's really just considering, you know, is there information out there that perhaps they can share with those clients around debt that might be translated or in easy read as well, because this is a huge problem and has only been amplified by COVID. So yeah, so I'm really glad that we've got that answered and really clarified just sort of the implications around those barriers, I guess. So
if somebody has got
God, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
I was just going to say, making connections with people in communities. I've had a sort of a couple of conversations with Sajna Ali, one of the local councillors, who's the BAME officer, about, you know, how she can get information into people.
That's great. Yeah.
That way.
Yeah, that's really good. Yes, we know Sajna as well. So I'm really glad you made that connection with Sajna.
Obviously, if you find somebody with barriers, can you offer them more help, like the way of, if it's a BAME community, can you offer them like interpreters, or if somebody needs help with signing, can you do that?
We would certainly make every effort to find that. If you ask me hand on heart, could I phone somebody straight away? No, but I could phone somebody who might find somebody, you know, and it is an area that you know, we do have to be very mindful of, you know, because we don't want people to have those barriers. And you know, as regards printed material, I can access easily things like large print, braille, things in different languages. And yeah, personnel wise, we would do our utmost to call on people like Sajna and say, can you help me with this client? You know, or put me in touch with somebody. So yeah, it's something that we are, you know, have to have in the forefront of our minds. And also I would say that, you know, having somebody who is anxious, depressed, having another person with them, we would encourage like support workers to engage with us as well, to, you know, as a second stage of helping with paperwork, helping with technology, you know, that kind of, it is very much a team effort, I would say, and we would, you know, bring in people who would, yeah, facilitate clients' ability to interact with us, I think.
Yeah, thank you on that one. Obviously we've touched on some of this, but do you signpost to other services?
Yes, we do. I mean, there are some instances, particularly at the early stages, where people will get in contact, and there's particular sort of scenarios, like I said, if somebody who didn't have any income at all approached CAP for help with debt issues, we would have to refer them on to an organisation who could get them started on, you know, getting their benefits sorted or helping them into employment and that kind of thing. And also people who are self-employed and have business debt is something that CAP say we don't specialise in, but we have good working relationships. We could signpost people to finding help that way. And obviously on a sort of a pastoral kind of level, if people were struggling with, you know, drug and alcohol problems, we would be able to point them in the direction. Have you seen a GP? Have you talked to this service? That kind of thing. And, you know, I have had it once where I've had a client who I would say was in mental health crisis, and we kind of put them in touch with the mental health team, and that kind of, you know, we wouldn't just leave it as that's not debt related. We would try and find a way to, you know, I've got a big long list of directing people that I would do my best to get them some appropriate help. I think again that holistic kind of, I couldn't just leave them.
Yeah.
You know, these are people regardless of whether they're.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you. Yeah.
That obviously answers the other part of that question, was what other support can you offer that you might not have mentioned. But yes, like you said, not leaving them saying no, it's not debt related, so I don't want to know. So yes, literally helping as much as you can.
I might not be able to give an immediate answer about their tax situation, but I can find a man or a woman who can, kind of thing. Yeah, it's very much that.
Can you share any success stories that you've had from somebody from your service?
I mean, it's fairly early days for me at the moment, I would say, and the debt process, obviously, it can be quite a long one. I would say just sort of people saying, goodness, that's a relief, when they've talked through what their situation is, just unburdening it a bit and going back to that when I've assured them that the creditors that are hounding them should back off, we can intercede for them. So yeah, releasing some of the mental burden, I think, perhaps rather, I couldn't say that I have anybody debt free. I've started a couple of people on the road to that, but yeah, I would think it's more the sort of the emotional side of things that I would say and relationship building with people who, again, thought nobody can help me, and hopefully we've helped them a little bit with that. And just touching on budgeting with people, they said, oh, I've never thought of doing it like that. Or, you know, as I've had a family who said, oh, that's a really good idea. Yeah, we need to set up our account in that way and pay our bills in that way. Oh yeah, great, thanks. So that's been,
yeah, I think that's hugely successful on its own anyway. You know, that emotional sort of alleviating people of stress is hugely important, and then sort of you've given people some new life tools there, you know, about budgeting. That could be transformational for somebody's life who's never done something that way. So it's really, really great. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, just the last bit. Can you share one last message with anyone that's watching that might be worried about seeking help?
Yeah, Gemma, could you just put that last slide? Oh, hang on, I probably missed a slide actually. That's where I'll go back to the very last slide, which is there's another one there, which was the one I started with. That bit that there's always hope. We're very much at pains to say, do call us. We can talk through. No, don't be ashamed. Don't think that your debt is anything worse than we've already seen. People come and say, oh, I've got £2,000. Say, don't worry, the clients with several tens of thousands of pounds of debt. Don't ever think that your debt is out of the reach of a professional sort of debt advisor, and that there are routes, there are different ways to manage debt. no matter how big it is, do just make that call, start that process. It's a brave step. I'm not going to deny that it's not an easy place to be, and it's not easy to say that you want help, but there's always hope. And that's what I think probably my sort of little strap line is at the moment. You know, do just explore what we can offer, and try and take some heart from that situation, really.
Okay, thank you. So it's back to you, Gemma.
Thank you very much, Sue, for taking Rachel through those questions, and thank you, Rachel. I think what I'll do before we end your slides is just pop back to your contact details there, just for anybody who wants to get in touch with Rachel directly. If you feel like you might need support, that's Rachel Ryan's contact number and email address, and a website there for you to maybe take away. You can maybe make a mental note of that, or you can even screenshot it on your phone if you're watching on a phone, but we will share Rachel's details as well on social media later.
And the slide just before that, Gemma, that says how do I refer someone to CAP? My personal information, I'm more than happy to talk to people, but as I indicated earlier, the process is that people have to refer themselves to head office to get within our system.
Okay, great.
Once they get within our system,
right,
that's when kind of, you know, I'm like I say, I'm happy for people to have my details, particularly if they have any questions after this, to get in contact and ask me. But the process of somebody gaining debt help would be to ring that 0800 number at the bottom.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
So two things going alongside really.
Yeah, so just to re-clarify, so to refer into the service for support, it would be this free phone number and website that you can see now. And for just general questions directly to Rachel about the information from the session today, to begin with, can be directed to Rachel's details here. Right, thank you so much, Rachel, and it's been an absolute pleasure hearing all about the service. I mean, it's fantastic. It's great to have another organisation in Darlington that is offering people support, especially at this time. So please hang on to the end, because we have got a few people watching, and they have been consistently throughout. So if you're watching and you have got a question for Rachel before the end of the session, do get them in, because I'm watching live if you pop anything in the box. So we're going to now just expand on money, stress and well-being, because there wasn't really an awareness a day or week going on that was huge this week for us to really share information about. So we felt like maybe if we could expand more on money, stress and well-being, and talk a little bit more about that. So what we did at Healthwatch Darlington is gathered some more information. So we're going to share screen that now and go through some other support that might help people out there. So let's just find. So what I think I found really useful was this actually here, which is just a simple cycle from Mind, actually, the mental health charity in the country, the national one. It's from their website, and it just explains just more about how it really affects your mental health. So poor mental health means it's harder for you to manage money, but then worrying about money can make your mental health worse. So it really is a very vicious cycle that you can find yourselves in, which can make it so hard for people to seek help. So you may find that you might need some emotional support as well from sort of specialist mental health services also. But the beauty with Christian Against Poverty is you've also got like that counselling element going on, which they get that sort of emotional support. But just to sort of re-clarify just sort of the connection between money worries and your mental health, as you can see that this sort of diagram from Mind really sort of shows you just how much it is connected. So moving to the next slide then. So just for you to be able to go and find out more from Mind, at the top here you can see Mind have got a money and mental health website page, so you can go and visit Mind's website, and they've got some information and tips on there about money and mental health. So if you're wanting to go and look for some more information around mental health that's related to finances, Mind have got some fantastic information on there. We've also gathered up some information from Step Change, which is a charity that supports people with debt, and NHS People. So I'll leave that there just for a moment, but what I'm going to do is go across now to these two website pages just to show you the information around wellbeing support that we actually found, which we found quite interesting and we wanted to point out to people. So I'm just going to sort of stop my slides for again just for a minute, so I can then go off to these websites that I've got waiting. Here then, this is Step Change, is the debt charity that also can help people. But what I found interesting is they work very closely with the Mental Health Foundation, and they've got a page on their website about the link between debt, stress and mental health. So down here you can see that in partnership with the Mental Health Foundation, they've got a 7-day, 7 ways, an easy email program that helps you to control your finances step by step that they're offering people. And you can find it on Mental Health Foundation's website, but also on here as well. And this is sort of like their logo for it. So if you click on this link on Step Change website, it will take you to this 7 days, 7 ways challenge, if you like, if you're looking for something a little lighter to help you with your finances to begin with. But over on the right hand side, there's this Mental Health Foundation stress test. So it also helps you to understand maybe just the impact the worry and the stresses around your finance might be having on your stress levels and your mental health, and really help you to see if you may be needing some more support. So I found that quite interesting, and we thought we'd bring that into the session for anybody who wants to go off and have a look at that. But also I think it's important to just sort of share that if you're employed but you're still suffering with sort of debt and money troubles, your employer might have some in-house support, and it's always worth, if you feel like you can, speak to somebody who you're employed by about your money worries, and if they've got any emotional support available, because what we actually found was the NHS have got available for their NHS staff sort of financial and wellbeing support, and they've actually got some fantastic support available on their website for anybody who works within the NHS. So just down here you can see they're doing this in partnership with the Money Advice Service. They've got an actual direct NHS telephone support line, which anybody who works in the NHS who are worrying about finances can ring up this number for money advice. It's free and it's an impartial service. So that's anybody who works in the NHS, and that's an 0800 number that you can see there. They've also got a WhatsApp service. So if you don't want to speak to somebody on the phone, you can also sort of connect with someone through WhatsApp. And they've also got a web chat service. The NHS is humongous. So you might be working in the NHS and watch this and might not actually know that this was here, but hopefully you do. But that's just giving you an example of how some big employers out there do offer financial and wellbeing support. So do always check if you are employed and you are worrying about finances, because you might find that your organisation or the business that you're working with offers support as well. So that was just sort of bringing in that element, I guess. So we're going to go back to my presentation slides again and just sort of leave that there. Those are those website links for Step Change and NHS People. So if you want to go and have a look at those yourself, that's the information that you need. So just a reminder, if you want to go and look at those, screenshot this, but we will try our best to share the links later on in the week as well on social media. And I think finally, oh, it does this sometimes. Just bear with me 1 minute. There we go. It decides to get stuck if I leave it on the large screen. There you go. So I think it's just bringing in that additional support that might be out there for other reasons as well, because as Rachel said, there could be so many reasons why you're struggling financially and coping with your finances, maybe for many reasons, but anybody who's experienced sort of a new illness, who might need to take time off work, or if you've got a loved one who is really unwell and they're at the end of life and they can no longer work, that can play a massive part on your finances and you needing financial help. So coping financially during that time of needing more healthcare appointments, needing more support with healthcare, means that you might not be able to work. So the NHS have got a page dedicated to coping financially during a situation like that, and that's that website link there at the very, very top for anybody who might find themselves in that situation at the moment. So please don't feel that you're just having to sort of just cope as best as you can. You know, you might not have debt yet, but you might be in a situation, if you don't get some support, that you could end up finding yourself in debt. So there's that coping financially for sort of anybody who's sort of needing that support for somebody who's not able to work because of a new illness. And I think it's fair to say sort of gambling as well. Gambling is a huge problem, and it's very addictive. And some people use it as a coping mechanism, and that's very linked to your mental health. So if you're finding yourself or anybody that you know is struggling with gambling addiction and they're tumbling into debt, there is support there, specialist support for gambling addictions, and one of the services is GamAware. I think that's one of the biggest ones in the country, and they can give support and counselling for individuals and loved ones about gambling addiction. That's that free telephone number there. It's not free, I don't think. It's I think it should be, but 0808 8020 133, and they're open 24/7. So gambling is just another reason why somebody might be struggling financially. And then of course losing your job, which Rachel, you definitely did touch upon that a lot. So right now, because of the pandemic, job loss is on the rise. So the government have got a page which is about COVID-19 and losing your job. So there's actual support and information on there suggested by the government. So you can go across to the UK government's website and have a look at some sort of specialised information around COVID-19 and losing your job. And there's that website link there. So we could have gone on and on finding more information and really having a huge session on this, because it's just humongous. But I think just going into some of like those maybe more relevant things that might be happening right now for people, and we hope that's helped everybody. But if you're finding that you've watched this and we haven't quite answered a question that you might have, or we maybe haven't shared some information that you're wanting, do get in touch with Healthwatch Darlington, because we can signpost and give you more information. Unfortunately, we couldn't include everything today because there's just so much of it out there. But I hope that was helpful for everybody. And I'd just like to say a massive thank you again to Rachel Ryan for joining us from Christian Against Poverty. It was really a pleasure for you being with us today, Rachel.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to let people know about our service as well. I think that's really important. The more we can let people know we exist, the more people. Yeah,
absolutely. So if you're watching this, press share for Rachel, so that word gets out there. Thank you, Sue Kirk, for joining us and for helping us with the session today again. Thank you so much.
No problem. You're welcome.
Thank you. So just a reminder, we're back on next Wednesday, and we're going to be joined by Darlington Mind next week again, and we're going to be joined by Matthew, and we're actually going to be talking about, well, Darlington Mind, but also we're going to be talking about Self-Harm Awareness Day, which is on the 1st of March, and Eating Disorder Week, which is actually the first week of March, and that's all next week. So if you want to join us for that session, again, next week we'll be live at 12:30, and that's with Darlington Mind. I guess it's just a reminder of our contact details then at Healthwatch Darlington. So if you do want to get in touch, our email address is at info@healthwatchdarlington.co.uk, or you can call us on 01325 380 145, or you can get in touch through social media, or you can email one of the team directly. You can find all of our contact details on our website at www.healthwatchdarlington.co.uk. That's it for this week's session. So thank you very much, everybody. And we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye. See you later. Bye.